All right. So now we need to see. I'm going to refresh the old YouTuber page and see.
When you go live,
It does
what?
have it going live.
Oh, sweet. When you go live, do you have it streaming out to... we just do YouTube, right?
Currently, it's just YouTube. Soon, I think the first thing we should add is Rumble. Just cuz.
Oh, Rumble in the Jungle. I love it.
Okay, so I'm going to go over here. I'm going to try to share this thing.
Do you have a Rumble account?
Yeah. I've been on there like twice since they've been opened. The first time was right after I heard it was going through, because there was like Rumble and MeWe and WeWe and something else I can't even remember. But I went ahead and created accounts on there, so I kind of locked in my username. And then I think I went back on one other time, maybe 3 or 4 months back, and it was like, this is kind of boring. So then I went back to YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's got potential because I think the audience that would really like vibe with what we do, I think some of them would be around there. But like if I were to look at our ideal audience, they're on YouTube.
Yep.
That's the target of the bullseye.
Yep.
Maybe not the next ring out, because the next ring out is probably Twitter, Instagram. But when we go to the outer ring, where we're still kind of hitting people that will vibe with us, but they're not quite target demographic, that would be where Rumble's at.
I think you're right.
So, just,
His
those tinfoil
girl
hat peoples.
got into some drama, and a guy came up and punched her in the face. Period. That's what happened.
I probably shouldn't have laughed at
Send.
that, but okay.
It's this dude,
Yes.
the Twitterverse. It's this dude. He's standing there, and you enter into the video, and he's like all beaten up and running away, and he's like, "There I am." This is me. This is not my best night, kind of a thing. So he sets it up like he's narrating this thing, and it shows him. It's somebody from like a street cam cell phone type perspective. He's like, "That's me right there, with my girl, and she's into some drama or whatever." And some guy comes up walking up, and he goes, and it's at this moment that I realized my spidey senses were tingling. And the guy comes up and he goes to punch his girl in the face, and he like pushes her out of the way, and the chaos ensues. Drama ensues. But the funniest part is his narration, because he's like, "I'm huffing and puffing," and this guy, tears my shirt off, turns it into a cardigan. It's good. Every time he goes to punch, he goes, "And the only thing I'm happy about, or the only thing I'm proud of, is look at that weave." So every so often in the in the video, the guy will throw a punch and he'll move out of the way. He'll be like, "Weave." It's so worth watching for those of you on Twitter. Thought you might enjoy that.
Okie dokie. I don't even know what I've just been typing. But I just typed some stuff and some things.
Stuff and things.
Oh,
That's how we do.
and guess who?
Uh-oh.
The John Hayes. I think I'm gonna need to. Whoa! What did I just do?
What's happening? What is happening?
I moved something that I. How did I do that?
Don't know what
See
you're
I get
aiming for, but I love it. It's awesome.
No, it's not. And now I can't even see what I was doing
Marks
because
a new day. Okay, maybe it's a return to the old days. I love the ticker. Wish I could narrate on that as well.
Yep. Okay, I've got to lock those down. Locked. We don't want them moving. I needed to move John around.
John, tell me something good. Commence chaos.
He says, "Uh-oh. Is this happening?"
Let me see.
So I'm not the only one who does voice to text?
Is it me?
John, you are not the only one who does voice to text. We do voice to text. I do that a lot, but then I also delete a lot, and then I go back to a lot. Why do I look weird? Is it that yellow?
What's up?
You know what's really neat? The way that I moved my light, my key light over here on my left, and the way your key light's on your right, that all of a sudden it looks like there is a...
it's coming from in between.
right? There's a light in between. It's your practicals and my practicals. I don't know. Something like that. What do they call that? It's the light when it's the, like in Photoshop, you're creating a shadow, a drop shadow, and there's like a setting where it's the light.
Luminance?
No, it's like for the light that casts the shadow, it's a specific term about the light, like universal light. That's not it. Global light? I don't know. You don't know what I'm talking about?
No, I'm from the
There's
South.
like
We don't like
one
words
little
like global, universalist. No, keep going.
There's like one little checkbox that you can make, and what it does is it makes sure that all shadows use the exact same light positioning. But I can't remember what that's called.
That's cool. Dude, this whole software business has come
I'm
full
seriously
circle,
thinking about dropping Adobe for the 18th time.
Why?
And for absolutely no reason. Just because I'm bored. Like, I have no reason. Actually, that's not quite entirely true. If I were to come up with a reason of why I would do it, it would be because I could go be a Filmora affiliate and make more money off those affiliate sales than off of Adobe. Because I've been promoting Adobe like nobody's business for years, and I've made zilch.
Really?
And I started out on Filmora because it's easy and it's cheaper, which means I'm probably not going to do it.
No. It's like Apple, man. Once you're integrated into the, what's it called? Ecosystem? That's the one. Not ethos. Ecosystem. Yeah, once you're in, man. Because now your Photoshop and your Audition and everything, they just connect.
Hello.
Hey, guess what time it is? It's time for the Vlogpasters podcast to return. We're doing the thing and the whatchamacallit, and you guys are all there.
And the thing.
And the whatchamacallit. I don't even know what I say half the time. I just do things. I need to turn that off. I've got my other monitor over there. That's going to be way too distracting because then I won't be looking at you at all. And I need to take Genevieve's face off of here. Just because.
Oh, Genevieve.
I need to send this out on Twitter, too. Twitter! Vlogpasters podcast is back and live.
I don't think I'm getting all the comments. Did you silence John?
No, he just only left 2.
Oh, he must be doing something. John, a pip. Time to come in and cause chaos.
I think he only left 2.
I only have 1. I have Genevieve. What did Genevieve say? Something happens? Yeah.
When something happens, you know you guys are back. Okay. Did I send that out on Twitter?
What happened?
I think I sent it out on Twitter. It's a good thing that we know what we're talking about. Did you even look at the ticker? Did you read it at all?
I keep going to when we get to talking.
You're going to have to wait for it. Here, wait. Let me restart it.
Speed it up.
Oh, wow. What did I do?
Wait. Today
marks a new day in the Vlogpasters podcast.
Ooh, pay him the big bucks.
You know what about this coffee cup? See that?
There it is.
Now watch.
What about it? Wait. That's so not where I thought you were going with that. You're like, do you see it? Now watch. That's awesome. Oh my goodness. How big is that? Does it fit inside? It does. Whoa.
I thought that Genevieve might be gone today, so I had that queued up and ready to go, and I was just going to put a big old straw in there.
Have you ever filled it up and drank it entirely?
I have not, no. I got it for Christmas. I left it here as a prop, and you were going to be the first one to see it, and it was going to be in one of these. I figured I better not drink it on the live, because you know how distracting it would be. You and I are in the middle of a conversation, and I have to go like...
Oh my word. There's no way. That thing would be cold before you got to the bottom of it. Hands down.
Probably, but I'll drink cold coffee.
You will drink cold coffee?
Yeah, I'll drink cold coffee. How did I get that John in there? That's a weird John. That was old John. He says, "Are you saying that you want me to troll the chat?" Yes. Okay, so today, and I don't know
100%.
why did that go there? We don't want that there. We want this
Always.
one here.
It's kind of your job. You're like an unofficial moderator of the chat.
Yeah. So
Shenanigans,
here are the things we're going to be talking about today, amongst other things. Does Joshua believe that what happened at Asbury University is actually a revival? Was Jared getting the pew-pews ready for the Chinese spy balloons? And is these really the vlog pastors, or has artificial intelligence completely taken over? I thought for anybody that would be like jumping in, they would be able to see that, and it would be like, oh, well, I don't know. Maybe not.
Maybe.
However, all of that, Jared. Oh, you know what we should probably do? I guess now that I'm thinking about it, should we just hit the intro?
Run it one time.
All right,
for old time's sake.
Welcome to the Vlogpastors Podcast, a podcast all about the stories and strategies of sharing God's love in the digital world. Now, here are two pastors that love to put a camera in their face and walk around in public. They are the Michael and Dwight of digital ministry, Jared Brown and Joshua Verwers.
That's right, I'm Joshua Verwers. That guy over there is
Jared Brown.
And we're the Vlogpastors, and it's been like 2.5 months since we've done this, so we don't really know what we're doing, and
I forgot everything.
I'm not sure that we really care all that much, because we're here to have fun and talk about all sorts of shenanigans, everything that pertains to, I was going to say life and godliness, which would probably be the correct response, but instead, everything that pertains to the ramblings and musings of Vlogpastors.
Yep.
Two guys that
we even have a shenanigan moderator in the chat right now.
We do. The shenanigan moderator that
Instigator.
is here, which, by the way, if you guys are listening to the audio replay of this, that means two things. One, that I was actually brave enough to, repurpose this content in audio format rather than just hide it. And two, as Jared almost does a spit take there. And two, it also means, what was I talking about? I don't remember. What are the two things that this... I apparently could only get through one, and then your almost spit take got me off. If you're listening to the audio replay...
It means, one, you were brave enough to post, and two...
Yep, I got nothing.
Here we go. And shenanigans ensue. Initiate sequence now.
The shenanigans definitely ensue. Anywho. Oh, yes, I know what that means. If you're listening to the audio replay, you weren't joining us live. If you want to join us live, you need to go to vlogpastors.com. You'll be taken to our YouTube channel and click that little red subscribe button. Then you can join us when we actually wind up going live, which, I mean, in days past, it was supposed to be... When did we do that?
Wednesday. We did it Wednesday, 10:30 in the a.m.
In Central.
In Central Time, but who knows moving forward?
Right. Yeah, we don't actually know. Wait, Wayne is trying to rib us. Wayne Riz in the comments live with us, and he says, I'm currently listening to the audio replay. You're not listening to the audio replay. You're listening to the audio delay. Because I think, even though I've got ultra low latency on, so really you're probably, I don't know, 5 seconds, 10 seconds behind us, and that's about it. So... not too much there, but yes, we've got Wayne Riz hanging out with us. My lovely wife, she's hanging out as well. The one, the only John Hayes that says that he is going to be trolling the chat here. We also got Jonathan. Oh, I'm going to butcher this name. I'm going to go with Pakiri. I could be wrong, but he says, hey guys, sending you love from South Africa. Good to see you. You might be the first one that is actually... commented that they were from South Africa.
Yep.
Probably not the first that's viewed it from South Africa, because I've checked the analytics every now and then, but definitely the first one that's at least commented, at least in my memory. Yeah. Wayne is saying it is every 5th Wednesday of the month.
Wayne, keep it up. Keep it up. Where's my timeout button?
That's not too far off. John saying, Jared doesn't use pew-pews on balloons, only on birds distracting him from vlogs.
Oh, wow.
We're starting off the show right with PETA coming after us.
That's a beautiful callback, John.
Oh, well, and pumpkins. He destroys those things, too.
That is way back. Wow.
I don't think AI will know what to do with you two. You might be right. You might be wrong. We don't know. What settings should Josh play with and see if he knows how to get it back? Josh should not play with any setting. Not the audio, yes. I shouldn't play with any setting in here, which means I'll probably play with the wrong one. I've already done that once. It was with my overlay that wasn't locked down. That's because last minute I tried to lock something down. And he says that we need to add an echo. Oh, so speaking about echo, here's something that we need to try to make sure that Jared's not listening to. So this is just between me and y'all. Jared's not listening right now. I mean, he's trying to listen, but he's not. Okay, so now that Jared's not listening, there's actually this like AI voice generator thing where you can change your voice in real time to sound like somebody else. And I think that I need to do that so that way he can be on a podcast with, I don't know, say like Sleepy Joe. I think that would be hilarious. Okay.
Are you ready for me?
We're ready for you. So, anywho.
I'm sure it was innocent, benign.
Purely. And I'm not worried about you listening to the replay on this because I don't think you actually know how to use the internet anymore.
Nope. I've taken a long vacation. I'm still on vacation. I don't know how you caught me.
Yeah, so Jared and I did that. We decided, what was that, back in November? I think November it was sometime.
For you. I pushed on through all the way, basically the end of December. Yeah. I still have videos that are canned, made, ready to release. I just haven't released them.
Yeah.
When December hit, I was done. But you made November.
I don't think I made anything in November. I don't know when. I made a video, but I was talking for like the podcast at least. You and I.
Oh man, yeah.
We had sorry, I got distracted by
comment.
Dawn is saying she loves my mug.
Which one?
Wait, this one
Show
or
her.
Is it
that one?
That one.
The one that eats
yes,
the
it is
first
that
mug.
big. There's nothing in it yet. I need to find a really long straw. Like once I do that, then I'll definitely do it. But yes, it's true. And why is it true? Because it feels good. And for those that are listening and you have no idea what I'm talking about, blogpastors.com, where you can check out our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit subscribe because it boosts our self-esteem.
I think we broke the teens. I think we're somewhere in the 30s right now.
I don't even know. I haven't paid
goodness.
attention. I sure hope that nobody left comments in the last 2 months because I haven't replied to anything.
Yeah,
you and I had decided that it was time for us to take a little bit of a break. Mine turned into a little bit more of a break, which we will be leaving at noon because I wasn't planning on going anywhere today, and now I am going somewhere today, but it's good. So, but yeah, everything has just been like chaos, especially for the last, 4 or 5 weeks here in these neck of the woods. And it's like, I'm ready for a reset. So that's why I was pestering you. And I was like, hey, we need to do the thing or just tell me that you don't want to do the thing. And then I'll go do something else. I didn't
want to do it. I said several times, I don't want to do it.
No, you said you want to, you just didn't want to set up your office again.
Oh, that was a misspell. That was a typo.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to, and I don't want to set my office up again. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Voice to text,
Yes. So, Wayne, we definitely turned into a Friends show. We were on a break. But yeah, we just kind of took a little bit of hiatus, and Jared and I, before we had taken that break, we had talked about what's the future of the Vlog Pastors podcast looking like. We have done a few different things in the past. If you guys remember, if you've been around with us for a while, there was a little season in there where we did, like a dozen episodes that we had no rhyme, no reason, no planning whatsoever. We didn't have a title for it. And the title of said episode wound up being whatever the funniest comment was So I think one of them is like drinking from a toilet mug or something like that. We had some doozies. That was fun. Like, we actually kind of had fun with that. And then I tried to make it more like search friendly, where it's like, we're going to actually research some topics and stuff. And by we, I mean me, because Jared was like, I'm just showing up and talking. And if I don't have anything to say, I'm not talking. I'm just listening to you. And then that was way too much work for me. So I decided that I want to take Jared's approach, and we should just show up and we should just talk about whatever we want. And at the same time, both of us are fully aware that, especially with the Twitter files having come out and whatnot, there is the potential for shadow banning that's out there. And you can say certain things that will get your voices silenced, and potentially even channels like demonetized and terminated and whatever.
Right.
And at the same time, Jared and I are kind of like, I don't care. We're going to talk about what we want to talk about.
This is progress, man. All right.
So we're going to talk about what we want to talk about today. And then I was thinking, okay, what has actually been happening? So before we get into some of the topics, because I've got a take on the Asbury revival. And yes, I'm using air quotes. And then I'm sure that we both have, takes on those unidentified flying objects or maybe floating objects that were across the skylines and that were being shot down. And then we probably also have some takes on artificial intelligence. Like, that was actually the last video that I made was on artificial intelligence, which was funny because
me too.
I made that like a month after I had actually used it, and then kept using it and kept using it. So we've probably got some thoughts on there. However,
absolutely.
Jared, how's the last 2 months been treating you? Because you and I haven't really caught up much.
Yeah, man. I think it was funny about your opening statement, like, hey, this is a show based on, shenanigans and friendship and that sort of thing, which it is 100%. But we're also pastors, and so we're gonna bring it back around to God's gonna totally land on some of these conversations, and it will be steered in those directions, whether we know it or not. And I think that's kind of what happened in the last 2 months. I'm gonna make a video on this. I think I just don't know anymore. I don't want to make any promises, but I think I'm going to make a video on low and slow, and that's kind of the word that we had felt like as a church. I say we, but in particular me and Jesse, and then it expanded to the church. We're just in a season of low and slow, and by that we mean low, humble, just as much service and as low in the presence of God as we can get, just to recognize Him as sovereign, and then slow, just like kicking out all the stuff that eats up our time and is nonsensical, or saying no to a lot of the opportunities that are coming down the road that we feel like we're supposed to be a part of, and bringing all of those things before the Lord and going, okay, nothing's on a timeline here. What do you want to do? And the things that are they important enough to be on a timeline to be demanding our attention? If not, please reorient us, kind of a thing. And so the last 2 months have actually been some of the most refreshing and beneficial that we've had in a while. So lots of projects around the house that I didn't film that got done at record speed. Lots of time with friends and family. Lots of time with the church. I hate, because we are in the digital world, man. I hate to say that, like, this is potentially, let me just go a little bit further and say, potentially the way life is supposed to be lived. We just have to, occupy the space of digital to reach people. But man, it's just been so simple.
Yeah.
And so I have loved every stinking second. When we got back on, you said, hey, what social? Because you can look, I think it's right below me right here. Yeah. The Jared and Jesse thing. What tags do you want to put in there to send people to? And I was telling you none, because I don't know that I'll even be there. I'm really enjoying this time. I know that I'll be back out there, and I do need to, do what the rest of what the Lord's called me to.
And that is legit that Jared may not be in contact with you, because, like, I sent him a message last week and he said, obviously getting together, the answer is yes. However, at the same time, I don't want to put my office back together, so I'll let you know in a bit. That was last week.
That was last week.
And then I didn't hear anything out of him until this morning.
One of the yeah, man. Well, one of the things that we really limited because I was talking to a guy yesterday. He came out and he goes, "How do you find the time?" Which is a question I used to ask you. How do you find the time to do it all? And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. What do you mean? And he said, well, you have the ministry, you have your videography business, you have YouTube, you have the farm and stuff. I'm like, well, I can kind of see the wisdom of the Lord in some of this to pare it down. And that dropping YouTube in the last, well, mainly YouTube, but all social really in the last 2 months has been really good in the respect that it has reoriented me to a lot of important things. So it's been nice. Low and slow, baby. Low and slow. What about you, dude? What are you up to?
So I will say that I have probably been very similar to the exact opposite, where you've been enjoying it. I have been loathing it. I've hated being absent. I don't like it. It doesn't work well with me. And I'm not entirely sure, like, why. And maybe it's just because, like the relationships, like I was getting a little bit of a complex, just to be full disclosure, when I didn't hear back from you in like a week. I'm like, this is not right. Like I typically hear back from you within a matter of hours. And it's like, what is going on?
Hey, yo.
And it was like, this is not okay. To the point where I was sitting here thinking, am I going to have to go old school and stop DMing him and actually call him? Like, am I going to have to leave an actual voicemail instead of just a voice memo? But it's some of those real connections and not being there. And then it's not just in the fact that, like, the communication side of it, but even watching things, like, not seeing anything out of you. And it's like, I miss Jared. I miss seeing his face. I miss seeing his videos.
Oh, shucks, man.
And then it's like, I bet people are thinking the same thing about me. And at the same time, I miss doing it, which then has been kind of cool and kind of freeing, because I've had all this time to really think and reprocess. And I would say that there's a refocusing that's been going on with me. We often hear, like, in marketing and in entrepreneurialism and whatnot, they'll talk about like IPAs, and it's not the beer, it's income producing activities.
Yeah.
And in a ministry context, I remember the first time I heard income producing activities, and it's like, well, we're not in it for the income, we're in it for the impact. So it's the impact producing activities. And I've been struggling over the last year, because there was a video that came out. I think Media did it, like, is vlogging dead? And there were all of these, is vlogging dead? And it's like, we call ourselves the vlog pastors. But is vlogging dead? Or is it just like everything else, where it takes on a different look and a different shape? And it was like, I was talking to, my son Logan about this, where we were discussing Thor: Love and Thunder. I loved the movie. He hated the movie. Like, he could not stand it.
I'll fight you on this one.
I loved it. Now, is it as good as like Ragnarok?
No.
No.
What movie? No.
No, it's not as good as Ragnarok. Is it better than the Eternals? Yes. So
I did not enjoy the Eternals, but
you didn't like Love and Thunder even more.
They're on par.
Now, there were a few things that I didn't like about Love and Thunder, but overall, I really enjoyed it, because it's like, I enjoy the characters. I enjoy seeing them, and if I just get to see them in anything, I'm happy. Like, even when I'll see like a cameo spot where somebody shows up, or I'm a big wrestling fan and I always love watching the Royal Rumble. Like, that's the one, if I can only pick one, it's not going to be WrestleMania. It's going to be the Royal Rumble, because you're going to get somebody that hasn't wrestled on television for 30 years that shows up for 5 seconds and it's just that pop of like, oh, it's so good to see you. And then we never see each other again. But those kind of moments, it's that nostalgia that it brings out too. And that's where it's like, when I think about even what does vlog pastoring look, and I've been rethinking and refocusing, and you'll probably see some different content coming soon from me, that I'm not asking anybody's opinions. I'm not following conventional wisdom. I am going to put out what I want to watch, and which is kind of what I've always done. Like, I enjoyed watching the Casey Neistat vlogs, so that's why I started watching the Casey Neistat vlogs. Now I'm not watching Casey Neistat vlogs, so why am I still trying to put out Casey Neistat vlogs? And it's just like, if I try to do that, it takes forever for me to come up with a vloggable, in that sense, a vloggable idea. So I'm like, well, then I just sit here for 2.5 months and I don't put anything out. And that I'm not cool with. So how have I been? Probably the opposite of you. I have not been enjoying it. I have been miserable with it. So there's
that. So there's that. And he drops it. I love it. I love it, man.
Yeah.
So tell me, why didn't you make anything? If it was bothering you, why didn't you? What got in the way? And
my perception of what a vlogpaster is. And
so that right there, thought, that mental hurdle, that's been fun because I've been friends with you for a long time now. I think I can say that.
Yeah.
And that the buckets of where things need to be placed is huge in your world, and that's fun to watch because
it drives me nuts.
I mean,
everything has to have a spot. Yep. It has to.
And that's been fun because if it doesn't, like if one thing goes in the wrong bucket and you don't like the way it sits, then it's a total redesign of everything that's going on.
I will tear down the entire room and rebuild it, and then only to realize that I rebuilt it wrong, so I need to tear it down again.
But on the opposite side of that, though, I've seen you find a system that works for you and buckets that you're satisfied with.
Yeah.
And when you get the system in place,
oh man,
here comes the content. It's
I crank out the content, right? Yeah, when I've got it figured out, when that piece fits, and all of a sudden, it's like, putting together a puzzle. And yeah, it's easy to get the border because you're looking for straight edges. Like, that's easy. But just because you have the border, it doesn't look like the picture. But all of a sudden, as you're putting it together, there's that one piece that goes into place, and it's like, oh, now I can see where we're heading. And at that point, it's all over. Like, you just finish it that much faster. That's the struggle, is there's that one piece that is often missing for me. And I'm like, where is that piece and where does it go? And I may even be holding it. And I was like, I know this is the piece, but I'm not sure where it goes. And I've been staring at this board forever and I can't figure it out. And that's been the last 2 months. I can't figure it out. However, now it's like, I went back to this because that's the good part about this time, taking a break, was to really focus. And it's like, I'm not your typical pastor, but I'm still a pastor.
How so?
Well, because your typical pastor, in my world, in my upbringing, in my history, the typical pastor, they are more put together and very caring and compassionate and going after people with that, what I call the pastor's heart, a shepherding heart. I do not pastor that way because I have no problem telling somebody to pull their head out of their rectum. And it's like, you are suffering from rectal cranial inversion right now, and you need to see Dr. Jesus to get that thing removed, or you're going to be struggling with it again. And you're not going to be able to see straight because your head's all the way up there. It's just like, that's me, and that's just the way I've done it. So when I started getting into pastoral ministry, and it was like, but I don't have that. Like, I can preach the word, but then even with preaching the word, I don't preach the word the way that others preach the word. I'm going to be using like random, obscure pop culture references. I'm going to irritate the traditionalist by quoting the great prophetess Taylor Swift, and that haters are going to hate, so you just got to shake it off. And driving people nuts because I dared to say Taylor Swift and prophetess in the same. Do you know what she stands for or doesn't stand for? It's like, I don't care. The truth is the truth, and it still works. And quite frankly, that song lyric, that was fire. Like, that's good. And if people would get it, that's me. So I'm not your typical pastor.
Gotcha. So
because of that, it's like, I'm still a pastor in the sense that I do care for people. I tell them the hard truth because I know the truth will set them free. And I do it with love. Maybe it's not as seasoned with grace or mercy as it ought to be, but it's still the truth and love. And it's not like I walk up and I just slap them upside the back of the head all the time. I'm trying to at least be kind and caring enough to not pull punches and tell them something so real that it'll break through the noise that they're hearing. And yes, I do use random references, and I did pull up a 1980s Playtex girdle commercial as a sermon illustration on how to gird your loins with truth. Yeah, I'll do random stuff. You and we did that one thing where it was like, that was a vlog pastors season where it was like challenging each other to put a phrase into a sermon. Like, I got a kick out of that. Like, I just thought that was so fun. I don't even remember what you had me do. I knew it was hard, but it was fun to try to insert something like that, where others in more traditional senses would say that I'm trying to make a mockery of things. And it's like, I'm not. I mean, I'm doing some of it for my own amusement and enjoyment, and I'm doing it also to connect with an audience, but it's not solely that focus. Yes, I'm going to elevate the Word of God, and I'm trying to bring people into a deeper relationship, but I can only do it my way. That realization of what it means to be a pastor can, and hopefully in the near future will, translate into what it means for me to be a vlogger, which will just look a little different and be a little different. And people are going to say that I'm not doing it right. And I'm starting to become okay with that and be like, I just don't care. I'm going to do what I want.
So I take it you're not concerned with losing your audience in the future.
No, I'm actually kind of anxious and excited for that.
I feel the same way, man. I feel the exact same way. I'm looking at shifting some gears, which we were talking about a little bit beforehand, and looking at shifting some gears and building my content differently around different interests that I have as a person, the stuff that I want to do, the things that I find interesting, and the buckets that I've set up. And I think it will cast off a lot of the folks who have come to expect a certain style and method of delivery. And I don't know. We'll see. I mean, maybe not. Maybe like you said, maybe they're invested in the character and it doesn't much matter. And right. I do have family and friends and internet friends that have now kind of grown up with me in this digital ministry world, and they're not going anywhere. They love me for whatever I put out there. But I would say the folks who came in through an evergreen content video that that was searchable, and they found it and they like the way that does it. How come I don't do it that way anymore? The comments that we get.
Right.
Yeah. Goodbye. We're about to go.
Well, and I even think about that, the ones that we've grown up with. Like Trey took a turn, like Trey Van Camp took a turn with his content there for a while. He was doing a lot of the book reviews. I don't know if he's still doing it, because when I'll see a pop-up, a notification from him. If it looks like a vlog, I want to watch it. If it doesn't look like a vlog, I don't want to watch it. That doesn't mean that I don't like him and I'm not following him and I'm not connecting with him and I don't support him and I don't want the best for him. I'm going to continue to do that, and I'm going to continue to promote people and send people his way. But it's just the type of content he's doing right now just isn't for me. It's not my cup of tea. But that's okay. Diana, really good friend of ours, when she started taking more of the pivot with her content, less tech related, and started doing more entrepreneurial stuff, that wasn't for me. And it was like, that's okay. Still chime in, still support her, still doing whatever I could to help and push people towards her, because I think they would be beneficial for her and her for them. But it's like, it just, at the time, it wasn't my cup of tea. And I know that's the case with my stuff. Like, I know it. Like, when I started doing the Bible readings, we talked about that another time. Like, I'm doing the Bible readings on this channel, or my main channel, and it was like, nah, people are just not paying attention to it. I'm getting crickets on all those videos. I put it over on another channel, and all of a sudden it finds a new audience and they love it. It was like, cool. I mean, just finding that bucket, that box for it. So that's where it's been miserable, but it's been good. It's kind of like learning algebra.
What?
It's the last couple months.
Learning?
Well, the good part about learning an algebra is at least you start to figure out how to, find X. What's the missing part of the equation? And you can find it. Once you learn the formula and how to do it, you can find it. Don't tell me you don't know how to find it. You use that in pastoral ministry all the time.
Listen,
you just don't see it in numbers.
You and Jesse can just go have fun with your maths.
And I like geometry because I like playing pool.
I'll give you that. That one's fun. Geometry, I understand. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Algebra, we're getting out there.
So, anywho. So that's kind of what the last couple months have been. Hey, what have you been thinking about what's been going on in the world?
I want to hear your take because I think I will have a juxtaposition for you on the.
Which one do you want to talk about?
Let's do Asbury.
Asbury.
And I need to say Asbury very carefully. If I mess up in this podcast, I apologize. I had some friends come along and say you're putting too many S's in this thing, okay? And it makes it sound weird. And I'm like, fair enough. So I try to make. I know
not
there's
donkey.
Something about the way that I pronounce it. I have to think about it very intensely because that's not my intention at all. Obviously, I don't. That's dumb. But like, several people have mentioned this to me. Like, listen, Asbury. I just have to push through it real quick. All right. I would love to know what your thoughts are on Asbury.
Okay.
I want to know what this means. The revival at Asbury.
Okay. So here's my thoughts on the Asbury revival, air quotes on revival. I'm going to put air quotes on revival for a specific reason, and that is because I don't think anybody but God knows currently whether Asbury is a revival or not, because church historically, when there is a revival, that revival impacts not only the people, but it impacts the community. It impacts society as a whole. And you can see that over time when there have been what I would consider true revivals, not that there are false revivals, but like my definition of a revival is something that not only, like, it falls almost in that the 2 Chronicles 7:14 method. If my people who are called by my name will seek my face and humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear their prayers. Then I will forgive them their sins and heal their land. And so it's like all of these things. That's what I see a true revival doing, where it's not just about us and our prayers being heard and our transgressions being forgiven and the passion and the zeal coming back in a new, fresh, and exciting way, but it's also in such a way that it impacts even culture. It impacts society. And because of that, I don't think we can classify it a revival yet. I think history will tell us, and it's going to take a generation before we can truly classify it as a revival. I do believe it is an outpouring of the Holy Spirit. Like, I have no doubts about that. I mean, I watched several of the videos. I've seen some of the clips. I listened to some of the testimonies that was coming out of there. Listened to some of the word that was being preached both in and outside of chapel. And it's like, yeah, I mean, God is up to something and doing something mighty in there. Does it classify as revival as we think of it? Only if our definition of revival is all-encompassing with any moves of the Spirit, any outpourings of the Spirit, and not just how I would classify it as impacting the people and the culture and the society. So that's where I sit there and I say, revival?
I see what you're saying.
Air quotes and a question mark?
I see what you're saying. And it does hinge on how you view revival. So for me, definitely common ground here. I 100% agree. Outpouring of the Holy Spirit. I mean, the sovereign. Every time I'm a sovereignty guy. So every time I come across whenever God is moving independently from people. He just shows up in a spot, well, not independently, but
Yeah.
they didn't force it to happen, and
Right.
that is the fingerprint of this one.
Yeah.
Where he just does indiscriminately what he wants to do. That has been that's fun. Definite outpouring of Holy Spirit, and I mean even the Pentecostals and Charismatics have to admit whenever the demons come in and start manifesting, and there's, I don't know if you saw some of those videos,
Right.
and the people are praying for them, and then just
And they're
boom,
like,
there's
oh, what's happening?
all right, it got a little saucy
Yeah.
there for a minute. So the outpouring, yes, 100%. Revival to me, from my perspective, revival is a church issue. So this outpouring could potentially lead to an awakening or a reviving of the church.
Yeah.
So, in the sense of revival, I think of it that way. I think of it specifically bound to the church. And then I have other terms, and that is yet to be seen. That is yet to be seen. The effect of how greatly, or, more or less, whether it awakes the church around the world or the nation independently, I don't know. I know it's awakened campus ministries, that's for sure. So they
Correct.
are being revived as we speak. There is a outpouring that's going around that I would near classify an awakening, a revival of the campus ministries that will hopefully, Lord willing, affect the church. But this is where we get into the second term for me, which would be more of a culture. I would call it a revolution. Like if there's enough momentum in spiritual circles, if there's enough momentum in the church where they come alive, they will affect culture. They'll begin to, your business partners, your friends, the Christians who are going into culture are overthrowing where we live right now, this very dark cult. We were talking about the president. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Right.
I cannot come across a post and go, are you kidding me, man? What are you talking about? And this has nothing to do with political parties. It's just like, stop.
Which is why you don't want people to find you on Twitter.
Don't find me on Twitter. What are you talking about? Like, these are children, or, you know what I mean? That's just some of the topics there. Like, anyway. So whenever we find ourselves rising up, light coming up against light being turned on in darkness, then we have a revolution. But there's a reformation already. Like when the church gets together, when the church is revived and enlivened, that's the part that I think, Lord willing, we will see play out in the next, I don't want to put a date on it,
right?
But in the near future, because if there's an awakening, we've been talking about the church being dead or asleep or whatever phrasing you want to put on it for the last couple of years, up to decades. Like, wake up, church! I don't know if you've been around any of your Word of Faith brothers and sisters who are like, "Wake up!" The Lord is saying, "Wake up, wake up, wake up." That's been years, and now it's like, "Oh wait, she's stirring."
Well, and there are some of the Word of Faith brothers that are in definitely the prophet vein and giving prophecies, which was interesting to me that they were giving prophecies that there is a revival that is about to break out within the next few weeks. Mm-hmm. And they were planning this big revival meeting down in Pensacola again, thinking that that's where it was going to be for them again. And I just found it hilarious that, like, they announce it, and the week before their meetings were starting to plan, that's when Asbury breaks out. And it was like, y'all were hearing, but you weren't hearing.
Yeah.
Like, you
awesome.
got it, but you didn't get it. Like, you were on target, you just didn't nail the bullseye. So those are the things that are cool to me, because too often with moves of the Spirit, with outpourings, with awakenings, with revivals, when we get a whiff of which way the wind is blowing, we want to try to harness it, and we can't. And that is always been the exciting thing, looking back on church history, and seeing that we always do it. We always try, and it doesn't seem to work. Now, how excited are you the fact that this is on college campuses? Because for years, we've been talking about the youth and the generation and how are they going to get it? Like, they're so self-indulged and selfish and just self-centered, and it's all about me and what I can get, and almost entitled. And it's like, are they ever going to wake up? And all of a sudden, they're waking up. And they're like, we want more of you.
And the fact that they are gathering not to speakers and worship teams and stuff like that, they're just gathering in their common areas with one another and seeking Jesus, confessing sin, repenting. Like, I would come on. It's really hard. It reminds me of whenever the disciples come to Jesus and they say, "Hey, listen, these guys are casting out, casting out devils and like what in the world? They're speaking in your. They're not with us. They're not with us."
Yeah.
And
are these drunk?
It's kind of like that. It's like, well, they can't speak. Well, we don't know. It's hard to say this isn't God when there's no upside for them. There's no benefit for them. What a collective group of college kids want to attract attention. That's an incredibly hard feat to pull off. You go to a college campus and say, "We're going to sit out here for 6 hours and do nothing but pray, to God, and He's going to do something super." That's not a good advertisement. Trust me, I've been in ministry for a long time. It has to be God who lures you there, who entices you to just open up your heart and receive something. And I am, short story, short answer, I am thrilled beyond measure. I am surprised because I find myself just like my Christian brothers and sisters. I thought I knew, thought we knew kind of what direction this was going to go, thought we kind of knew where this would predominantly hit, and to have it pour out, as it always does, upon, college campuses yet again, and, to have it hit again in Asbury. Well, for those of you who aren't familiar, there was one that broke out in 1970, I believe it was. Yeah. And to have it hit again in Asbury, it's like, God, you just, for the ones who say, "Oh, He's doing a new thing." Yeah, He's doing a new thing, but He likes to do the old thing sometimes too.
Right.
It's like, anyway, it's just really cool for me. I saw, if you'll allow me this one story, I saw this pastor, and he said it's kind of like this. Because there's a lot of people who are coming to him to say, "Is this a real revival or is this not a real revival?" And he says, it's kind of like this. It's kind of like, do you remember whenever the Jews came to the high priest and they said, "Hey, listen, we got to shut this Christianity thing down. We, make a stand. You need to renounce all this. We need to round them up." And he says, "Listen, if this is of God, or if this isn't of God, it's going to come to nothing. It'll be nothing." Same with Asbury. It'll be nothing. Like, it'll be a good rah, a good stir. But if this is of God, you won't be able to stop it.
Right.
And you might even find yourself opposing the Almighty. And that's not a good place to be. And I kind of feel that way about what's going on in the revival amongst our college students. They can't, in the same breath that they're being wrecked and, just absolutely encountering God, turn around and say there is no God. Yeah. So right now, let's just let it be.
Right.
My perspective, I'm going to let it be and see how much of an awakening, a reformation, a revolution, depending on the different spheres that it's in, this is going to be, and fan the flames of anything that comes my way. We've had a bunch of folks who have run out to Asbury to, get a little dip. Hop in there, and their takeaways have been, from a human perspective, this is not impressive. It's, it's a building, it's a ratty building, it's a bunch of people getting together and praying, but from a spiritual perspective, it's the Lord, man.
Yeah.
And they're hungry for it to be here.
Well, and that's the one thing, if I were to say, like, if I were to make a case of this is a revival, I would just spin my definition slightly. Where it's starting out as personal revivals. It's that old prayer, revive my heart, Lord. And that is what is happening. That is what they're crying out for. Like, they've been crying out for God to revive their hearts, to pour fresh on them, to really just stir them. And it's happening. And that's the thing where it's like, yes, in that sense, I'd be fully on board saying this is definitely revival. In the church history revival aspect, not yet. I'm not willing to say that yet, but is it really, like you're saying, on the verge of an awakening? Oh yeah, like it's almost there, if not already, because you look at when mainstream media is starting to get to it and they're like, wait a second, something's happening. Like the eyes are being opened. And I like that. I also say that I love the decision of the college, of the university, to say, we are going to shut down the evening services except for regular scheduled ones because there's so many people coming in here. It's not about here. Go out. Take it to where you're at. And that decision I thought was very unique from a history perspective, because that's not how it goes. Most moves of the Spirit, most awakenings, most revivals, they want to kind of hold on to it, and it's in that location. Some because of the inability to travel distances. Others just because, well, it's us. We had it. It's ours. And then it becomes kind of a limiting thing where go. Like that's all it's ever been for. Like Acts 2, it didn't stay in the upper room. They poured out in the streets, and then they went to the uttermost parts of the world. And that's what it's supposed to be. So I was excited to see that. I also was very appreciative
I'm glad you feel that way. They made me nervous beyond measure.
I was glad. And it was because I tried to listen to the heart behind it, and what I was hearing them say is what I just said. I heard them saying, and it wasn't the exact words, but what I heard them saying from their heart was, we don't want to try to hold this and box it in. It's already poured outside of the chapel and onto the lawns and into the surrounding universities. But now people are coming from all over the country and other parts of the world to hear, no, stay where you're at and just let this Spirit, this move, just pour where you're at. That was what I heard them saying. And it was like, if that's where their heart's truly at, that's where God's heart's at, and this can be powerful. So I was excited in that. I was also very appreciative that when I think somebody had said that Fox News had actually tried to come in and set up cameras, and they're like, no, we don't want you here.
Yeah, it was, Tucker Carlson, he had mentioned, he said, hey, listen, they won't let us in, and we respect that.
Yeah.
We really appreciate that.
And it wasn't a political thing. It was like, this isn't about drawing attention to us and what we're doing, because the whole time we're here, we're trying to draw everybody's attention to him. So that was the neat thing.
The little charismatic heart inside of me was like, oh, don't touch it. Don't restrict it. You know, just
oh, yeah, yeah. The
breathe.
Quenching the Spirit and stuff like that. Yep.
Well, there's a piece to this where you can tell, you hear words when people describe Asbury that like, you know, it's a move of the Spirit. It's a move of God that people's hands are off. But you can also tell that there's a lot of leadership being given to this thing. There's a core group of leaders in there somewhere that are making sure that this thing has been protected and executed properly from their perspective. That part is the part where I'm like, oh, guys, be gentle with this thing, because there's a part where, as we all know as pastors and anybody who's been in ministry for a long time, there's a part where it's organic and God is just ripping things out. He's coming through in his wave, and he's going to do what he's going to do. And we are all face down just letting him have at it. But then like it moves from organic to kind of an institution type thing, because you begin teaching what happened, and you look at why it happened and how do you not replicate it, but like what touched the heart of God that would be pleasing in this time, that was something that you want to get on board with, and it kind of becomes an institution. So watching them call it, for lack of a better term, I was just praying, which I believe they made the right call. I just, in that process, you go, oh, in the
moment, I'm with you.
The boldness to go, listen, we have our first calling is an institution to train Christian leaders. We're going to follow that out. While this is amazing, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. This is everything. Right. This is what these Christian leaders will go out to one day hope for. Like, why would
it's what you're training them to pursue.
Don't shut down the services, but at the same time, you can see the wisdom in it, because they are swarming. If you're talking tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people collectively descending upon a town of 6,000 people, and I saw the drone footage. There's lines Not only are they in the courtyard, but there's lines to get into the courtyard. And there's cars like an apocalyptic scenario parked along the streets and the bar ditches. And while that does my heart good, it's like, yeah, that logistically, they do need to do what they've done. And the heart behind it is this is meant to go. Right. And I believe it is. There was a woman. I shouldn't call her a woman. She's a young lady. Woman might be too mature for her. She did an art project.
What is a woman? Saw it.
Oh, don't get me started. Find me on Twitter for that one. She started an art project, and she tracked the different countries and regions that people. Did you see that? Yeah. Where they had come from, and it's just a beautiful tapestry of all these yarn or string or whatever going out to these touch points of people who had already been to Asbury and had encountered God. It's like, oh, God, you're amazing. I mean, whether it's Asbury or wherever it's somewhere else, he's just got a way of making a little drop, a ripple in the water, and sending out his whatever it is that he wants to communicate in a season. And Asbury, I am thrilled to death, man, because so many times I have heard about the death and decay of a move. And to be honest, when I came into pastoral ministry, I was looking at the decline of a couple revivals that were kind of, God had done what he wanted to do in those situations, those movements, and they were kind of wrapping up. And then there's been a period of time, from my perspective, I'm not clued in on everything, but from my perspective, where it has been kind of lights out, and he's been dealing with his church. He has been dealing with some serious issues in leadership and, relationships in his church, relationships with him. And then this is the first ping of something new, and it's got my heart. It really does. Because if I believe it to be genuine, but if he does it there, he can do it here. I mean, he's always got a revival right here in me anytime. Right. But as far as a bunch of brothers and sisters gathering together and him doing something other, that's encouraging in our day, man. In our day. It
is very encouraging. And it's something that we needed some encouragement, especially with a whole lot of stuff that was happening that was getting people discouraging, and tinfoil hats starting to come back out again. And speaking of tinfoil hats, what'd you think of those weather balloons?
Well, do you want to classify them as weather balloons? Do you want to classify them as
unidentified floating objects?
UFOs, aliens from another country, or the latest one that I heard, demons?
Ooh.
Which one would you like? Yeah, that was a great one. I actually just heard that one at the store the other day.
I hadn't heard that one, but
demonic
that's a new
signs.
Way of talking about China.
Demonic signs in the sky that our government has tried to shoot down, or that they can't quite, along with the UFO thing, but just kind of a testimony of a different season of principalities of the air doing their thing.
Right.
That's kind of that's kind of how it goes. If I get it right, I don't necessarily hold to that, but
okay. So let me go back to that first one that really came across. If we can rewind back, first Chinese spy balloon. That's what it was being classified as.
The size of a bus.
The size of a bus.
Its payload, the size of a bus. Go ahead.
That entered in Montana.
That we knew about 3 days in advance.
Correct.
That transversed over Alaska, by the way, just saying, if there happens to be military installations
in Alaska,
and then crosses over Canada, so there we go, an ally, and then might find its way tracking across military installations in Montana. And somehow holding over those installations. Now, whether it's doing the weather balloon thing where it's tracking up, doing whatever.
Wind gust.
Intentionally.
Swirling winds.
Holding.
We're in the Midwest. We're used to swirling winds. We call them tornadoes.
Over military installations, and we
don't know which way the wind blows.
We know about it. We can see it. We can see it hovering. So it's making its intentions known, and we do nothing about it because of the massive population and potential, destruction
in sparse Montana and Wyoming,
rural Montana, Wyoming. Okay.
Yeah, but they're wildlife, national parks.
Smoke it.
Mount Rushmore.
I
Wasn't
light
quite
it up.
that far, but
Blow it up.
and
George
then it
Washington
went
will
all the way
understand.
across. I had friends in Missouri saying that they could see it. I don't know if they could or not, but they were saying it. You watch TikTok, plenty of people that were apparently getting good cell phone footage, which means they had to have had a Samsung and not an Apple, because you know they ain't going to be able to pick that out of the sky. and, then, and then it goes all the way over South Carolina, and then after it gets across into the ocean, before it's in international waters, mind you, shoot it down. With how expensive was that missile that we launched at this little
Right. You're looking
balloon?
at millions. Every one of those things.
So, with all the shenanigans that were happening on with this, okay? Do you think, would you give our president a kudos for job well done on this or not? On any part of it?
Are you kidding me right now?
No, I'm dead serious, because I will give him credit on a couple different things.
Oh, awesome. I cannot wait. I am the only thing that surprises me about any of this nonsense
Is that Montana didn't shoot it down themselves?
Montana slightly. I mean, the limited population and resources up there. Okay?
Maybe the
I get
height,
that.
they wouldn't have had it, although I know some of them have like firearms that I couldn't even dream of being able to possess.
South Carolina. That it made it over South Carolina. Honestly, I've still got hope for them. I'm telling you, I figured some redneck in a biplane, like just get as high as he could, mounted to the top of that
So
thing.
here's the question. I put it in the ticker. My question was, were you getting ready with your little pew-pews ready to take it down if it came over Texas?
No, there's no way. I mean, you're talking a golden BB, but I did do my research
To find out how high it is and if you had anything that could reach it?
Exactly, because now here's the thing: if our government is not going to do it, then we need to start figuring out: are we going to start making man-made, homemade rockets? I mean, I know the AI is there, so let's start looking at software to build. If Elon can land a rocket, we can build one about the size of Yay, and take down a little weather balloon. I'm just trying to figure out, how do you reach 60,000 feet or whatever? That may be too high. I can't remember what it was.
No, I think that's accurate. I think it was 60,000.
And 3 buses, John just corrected me.
Correct,
3
yes.
buses.
John in the chat saying it was the size of 3 buses. Okay, so you ready for me to get your blood boiling as this biblically conservative pastor wants to give credit
You were gonna just
to
as long
our
as if you will allow me
extremely liberal president?
a rebuttal. Yeah.
2 things I'll give him credit on.
Actually, go full screen because I need to check back in.
Okay. 2 things that I'm going to give him credit on. The first is that the decision to not shoot it down, that decision that he had of not shooting it down was based on information that he had received from the Pentagon, and they were recommending, based on population and all this, they recommended to him not shoot it down. The fact that he at least listened to the multitude of counsel in this situation, whether it was the right decision, whether it was the wrong decision, he listened, and he proceeded to not act accordingly. And I'm going to give him credit for that, because at least when it was taken down, it did not land in any densely populated areas that could have caused any injury. That I got to give him credit for. The second thing that I'll give him credit for, I have no idea how much that missile or whatever it was, they took down this weather balloon, this Chinese spy balloon. No idea how much that cost. Way too much is what it cost. Excessive amounts of money. When I'm sitting here thinking, you probably just could have fired a pellet gun into that thing and it would have went down. Like anything that was sharp or fairly sharp would have taken it down. They went above and beyond. I have to give him a round of applause for that, because guess what, China? If we're going to spend that much money to take down your little toy balloon, guess what's happened if you actually try to threaten us? Shock and awe, you're getting everything. We're coming at you. Why? Because this is the United States of America, and we don't play around.
No.
We will go above and beyond. Full shock and awe. I loved it. Those are the two things that I got to give him credit for.
Well, let me rebut that. Just on your very statement of we will go shock and awe. You cannot, as the leader of the free world, or as the nation that basically is upholding peace, and I know we don't like that. We're not peacekeepers, but at the same time, we are establishing that we don't do certain things to one another. If you allow weakness like that to have your competitor who has vowed to take you down, who wants to take your spot at the table, they want nothing but maliciousness for you. Let's be clear on that.
Right.
If they fly stuff over your military bases to see in plain observable sight, and then the rest of the world is going to be looking at, you cannot allow that no matter what it costs you. That thing needs to be blown up. I mean, the second you find it, why didn't they blow it up before it transversed Alaska? We're aware that there is a blimp.
True.
There is some estimation that they're aware of when it took off.
Now, had I been the president and had the Pentagon alerted me before it even entered into Alaska, I would have said, I don't care whose it is. I don't care what it is. If it's entered into U.S. airspace and it's not in international waters, it's coming down with vengeance.
Light it up.
Now, I would have done that. I don't necessarily agree that they should have waited all the way across. I'm saying the fact that there was a delayed response and it did enter into our land and then Canada's and then back in our land, I'm fine with them holding off and saying, we're not going to shoot it down. Just in case, because we know it's the size of 3 buses. We don't know what it's made out of. We don't know what the impact is. If we blow it up, how far is that shrapnel going to scatter? What's the impact of that? I get that. Fair enough. Let's wait until it's over water again. However, if I were president, no, it wouldn't have even entered across our land. It would have been shot down far sooner than that. And I still would have went with the biggest thing that we had to take it down, just so they can see, I ain't playing around with you. We are the largest military, the most powerful force in the world, and we're going to flex it. That's right. We're not bringing knives to gunfights. Like, it ain't going to happen. We're bringing everything.
A little thing about that, where if they could have, and let's be real, they do. Okay? They could have handled this without anybody even knowing about it, and they do with other situations around the world. Just having served in the military, there are things that they do quietly that needs to be taken care of. This right here,
this had to be public.
This was something. This was a statement, because even in the way that it's handled, communicates weakness like you would not believe. It's not that we need our president to be a bully. We just need him to say, if you mess with the American people, and time again, he is saying, whatever everybody else wants me to do, I'll do it. And China,
he's not saying that.
And aggressive nations.
He's
That's exactly what he's saying. Aggressive nations are going to push this guy around, and they're going to keep on flexing. So now it's appropriate. Here's the problem. Now it's appropriate to fly things over our land. Like, if China has set a precedent, you do it one time, you can do it all the time. So if China can do it, then Russia can do it. If Russia can do it, let's just keep on going. Then Iran can do it. If Iran can do it, then I know those are extremes, but it's cheap. They're sending something cheap over. So now, is it going to get the same response every time? Are we going to fire a Sidewinder missile into a blimp over Canada, or over over the lakes, the Great Lakes, and miss? Okay, so now you missed with one. Where did that go? Where did that bad boy go? And plus, they've got an unlimited. To be honest, I'm sure they're deconstructing and there's a maintenance that goes with all these things. But these things have a shelf life on them anyway. You got a bunch of spares. Light it up, man.
Right, exactly.
Go out there over the whatever ocean you need to.
Oh, yeah. And after I've had ammo just setting for a while, it's like, no, we're going out. We're having target practice.
You've got time. You've had tons of time to watch this puppy come across the sky. I would have a full-on news crew and be like, listen, high def. We are going to near nuke this thing out of existence and just blow it up. Yeah. Well, actually, I would. If I'm president, I'm shooting it with a BB, and I'm going to try and collect it. Honestly, I want to know what they have.
Well,
I want to take a look at the wreckage.
I probably would have done that too, and then just once I got it, done a big news conference with it and be like, oh, this is what you sent over? Oh, that's cute.
Exactly.
Now, all that being said, and because I know I've poked a couple jabs, even though I did give him some credit, I think it's probably good for us to remember one thing. Whether we like it or not, he is our president. And biblically, we need to pray for the president. I think one of the best things that I did see out of him, and this is where I was starting to get off with the giving the credit, he did take counsel, at least what the Pentagon was telling him at the time, tells me I want to pray for those that are around him and that have his ear in these situations, that they would have a better response for him, that he would listen to their counsel, and that it wouldn't get this far in the future. Because it's not the end of UFOs and aliens.
No, we're going to hear about all. Yep, we're going to hear about it all. I am a little different tact. I am aggressively praying for maybe repentance or something. I don't know because it is we're not. I believe what we were.
I'm praying that they would rule in the fear of the Lord so that we would be able to lead quiet, peaceable lives.
Absolutely. And what do you do whenever that is the contrary?
As much as it depends on you, live at peace with all men. As much as it depends on you. And sometimes that's where I tend to be not the typical pastor, and I'm like, dude, you're an idiot. Get your head out of your rectum.
Yeah. No, the unfortunate part is they have the perfect whoever has this agenda. There's a serious demonic agenda against women, against children, and I would suppose against just the image of God. But this is rough to endure, and I feel bad for our president. I feel bad for what he has to endure because he's the scapegoat. He's the silly old man.
And there's more involved in all these decisions. Yeah. There's a lot more than all that.
Well, you're at your time limit. So if you want to bail out now.
So yes, we are at the time limit. I do need to bail out. We're going to wrap this up. However, we had one more topic that we didn't get to, which was artificial intelligence. You and I both made a video about artificial intelligence. And I guarantee there's going to be a lot more that happens in the artificial intelligence space by this time next week.
100%.
So I think next week we start talking a little bit more about AI. And I also want to circle back around on Asbury Outpouring.
Okay.
And I want to look at it from the vlogger perspective. We looked at it from a pastoral perspective. I want to look at it from the vlogger perspective, maybe the vlog pastor perspective, and how social media impact it positive, negatively, and what we as church leaders could learn from that. So something for us to think about and ponder for the next 7 days.
Sounds good.
All right. That's all I've got. So I suppose until next time, stay blessed. Enjoy God's best. Have a fantastic week.